Okay. All right. So we're I'm going to put on a quick intro and allow people to share and to come in the room, and then I'll pull Amanda up here. So just 1 second. How's it going, everybody? We're going to bring Amanda up here in just 1 second. These shows resonate with you, please share so we can stay above these algorithms. And thank you for your continued love and support and contributions. It's good to see everybody. Let me get Amanda up here. Yeah. Let's see, hang on. There you go. There you
are. Hello, everyone.
What's up? What's up, Amanda? What's going on?
Oh, there's so much, isn't there? So much going on.
That's
so much. It's hard to keep. It's hard to remember it all, actually, because then something else happens, and I think it's staying in there, but you just move on to the next and the next and the next. So it's very much in the now.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I think there's a lag. Am I on the wrong?
Is there? It might be my Wi-Fi. It's been slow all day.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're good. We're good.
I hope we're all right, because it has literally been slow all day. I'm just going to see. I can't seem to find you in my timeline.
I tagged you.
For some reason. Yeah, it's not showing for some reason. Never mind. What I'll do is I'll sort it out after the show.
Hang on a second.
Don't worry. Usually it shows.
Yeah, it'll show. If it's slow, then it's going to take a second. But let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Let me see if. So I can try this. Let me try this. Let me just try one thing real quick. I'm not sure if I can do it on yours, but let's see. No, it won't.
Oh, don't worry, Todd.
But you're tagged on it.
Yeah.
So it'll be there. So we got.
See.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we go.
I'm just going to change something on my settings.
I like your new hairdo.
Oh, well, I'm never happy. Never happy with my hair. Tagging.
Oh man, a lot of energy.
Well, I'll leave it be, and I'll sort it out after the show. So
yeah, all right.
So I can be present right now.
No, that's fine. Whatever you gotta do. There's a lot of energy coming down here in the last 12, 14 hours or 24 hours. Have you felt that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Every day the energy is changing. I'm not putting on my Facebook will, each time there's an incoming wave, because it's every day now. Yeah. Every day we're receiving energy, and the energetics that we're receiving each day are different. And you really have to be with it and present to feel them. And the more you sit and just feel how your body is sensing it, the stronger that sensitivity becomes. Yeah. So, and then you end up feeling the different light codes, the different waves. That it's huge. January has been massive for everybody.
Yeah, isn't it? The last 2 weeks have been insane.
Yeah, a lot going on for people, for sure. Yeah. And perfect. I remember saying to Melissa in December, when I was chatting to her privately, Melissa Dean, because we chat quite a bit, and I remember saying to her in December how I felt so much compassion for people because they didn't really truly know what was coming in January, in terms of what would hit them in their own individual reality and life. Yeah. And I was feeling for them in December what they were going to get in January. And, it's amazing. It is, there's a beautiful reason for it all, why everybody's getting pushed. There's so much I could say. I don't know where to start, in a sense. So
it's like out with the old and in with the new.
Yes.
In the exponential levels. And then I haven't had a lot of the identity deaths, people talk about. I know Morgan's gone through a lot of it. But I have, I guess, I don't know, just I see people talking about it. Last night, pretty intense. And these lucid dreams over the last 10 days or so have been really intense. There's been a lot of very clear conversations I've had with people in my, like family, kids. Like two nights ago it was these conversations I had in lucid dream, so real too, where I was basically saying goodbye. We were saying goodbye to each other. There was no hard feelings. It was just like, it was really in an essence of love. And then last night I had two, and one of them was the same thing. One of them was this big house. It's actually a house I used to live in and own, and so all the family was in there, but the extended family, and there was this whole storyline, and it was the same thing though. It was just basically went back to this environment that represented, I guess, in so many words, the 3D environment or the old life, and everybody was just like, "See you later," and it was intense. I mean, I woke up basically screaming. And I don't even know what time it was. It was probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I felt like I was going to throw up. So I crawled to the bathroom, and I laid on the cold tile floor because it felt good. And then I just started doing this, and I've done it before, but I've never done it on camera. But I started doing this. I wouldn't call it light language. It's more, and I wouldn't call it a sacred song either. Somewhere in between. It moves very fast. It's very fast. The syllable changes are very fast. And but while it was happening, I could see what you're talking about. With the light codes. There was a lot of images. Afterwards, I crawled into the bed. Morgan had been doing her thing earlier in the night. I was holding space, and so I said, well, why don't we put our hands together like we normally do when we go to bed? And as soon as it happened, man, there was all this energy in the room, and I saw very clearly a big white dragon. It got right in front of my root, and it had these big, fierce yellow eyes, golden yellow eyes, and it went merged right into me. And I had like a little soulgasm, and then I felt it in a very it was different, because it was like, it was very much, I could feel it in my body. It was physical. I could feel it go all the way up into my throat chakra, and basically the message was, it's, no more playing small. The old Todd is gone. The old Morgan's gone. Uh, and it's time to really open up the throat chakra and really,
Mm,
really start spreading the truth, just by your own experience
yes.
or whatever. Yeah.
I
Is that,
I
is,
have to yeah, all of that resonates. Just talking about playing small, and I'll probably try and work backwards if I can remember. But the playing small, this has been a tricky road when um, you're in a conversation and everybody's at different levels, and the ascension itself, I found it really, really tricky, and I've withheld my truth. I've withheld what I know about the person opposite me as to their stage, if you like, because I just read energy like I blink. So it's been really hard because the last thing you want to do is trigger somebody's ego, and if they're heavily in their ego, that's exactly what you're going to do. So it's a case of, do you want to cause them harm, or is the best road to actually say nothing and just let them be on their path? They're in exactly the right place. But right now, January, just resonate. There's no time left to be playing small.
yeah,
You literally, whatever version of you are in this now, is the version you have no option but to be. Now, that might mean that you talk less to some people
yeah,
because they're still going through heavily maybe their ego, but there's so many clicks that happen, and they're activations, they're energetic activations, that suddenly you can't do this. And even if you went to try, you just can't. The try isn't even there.
yeah,
That part of the program is gone. So and also, there's a divine reason for that, to be yourself, be your pure version, um, because you're creating your reality. So if we're pretending to be less than we are, if we're pretending to be bigger than we are, we're just denying ourselves our own pure reality. We're denying the manifestation of it.
yeah.
And Jason Estes mentioned, I think it was on your show, Todd. I don't know when it was, recent maybe.
Hmm.
He mentioned deflation.
Yeah.
And I was shown that in a different way. So he was shown deflation in terms of finance and the financial situations of people. I was shown in December deflation for this year, from January onwards, of people's mental and emotional. In other words, the people that were still playing heavily in their ego will get shown really quickly, sharply,
Mm.
shockingly, that is what's at play, their ego, in order for for them to come drop down out of it, see themselves.
Yeah.
But equally, so that's a deflation, the way I saw it. And then equally, there's an inflation of the people that have been so quiet and played small, um, because they have to come up to the level that they are
Yeah.
in their truth. That's where their truth is. Their truth isn't down here. So this is what we've got for January, is in terms of the human, mental, emotional, the energies are making everybody do this and level up.
Yeah.
And it can be quite hard for these people and these people. But going back to your dreams, because it's worth explaining this to people, especially newly awakened, is that as we awaken, the neurons in the brain start to activate as soon as we awake, and that goes on a series of activations that are non-stop through
Yeah.
our awakening. And what that does is it allows the brain to change how it's able to perceive wave patterns. So when we go to sleep at night, when we were in 3D, so to speak, unawakened, when we went to sleep, this physical human brain could not understand the wavelengths when we went into subconsciousness in our sleep. But the more our brain activates and the more we clear on the ascension, the more we're able to interpret the waves. So it means that when we go to sleep, we have more and more and more increased realistic dreams.
Yeah.
And that is your higher self communicating with you in the dream time in a way that you actually end up fully understanding. And what the higher self is definitely showing two things at the moment in my reality is it shows any fears remaining within you that you can't see. And it also shows you it shows me what's coming for the collective. So I get learning dreams to show me what's coming for the collective. And then I get my personal dreams that will say, you haven't noticed this about yourself, have you? Oh, that's been running. And then you wake up in total shock and think, hey, and that's when your human starts to get on board with the higher self, and then you start to work through things you're blind to, because we all have a blindness.
Yeah, like a blind spot, and that's, I like your description too, of the the inflation and the deflation, which he did talk about that in the same regard you did. It wasn't just finances, and that what you explained was exactly what he said. So I see it like, somebody was on, I think yesterday. they were talking about she was Susan Walter, and she's been seeing angels after a couple near death experiences many years ago. And I asked her, I said, is there a difference, or what's the difference between an archangel frequency and an angel frequency? And she said, well, they're just different frequencies. And so one's not higher or lower. There is no higher or lower. They're just different bandwidths, different frequencies. So I kind of see that if that 0 point is here and somebody needs to deflate and somebody else needs to inflate, they're almost like pendulums. So that, they've got to go up or down, and then, to find that balance in the middle ground. The other thing I think that you mentioned, and I think this is becoming more, more people are experiencing it, and that is the intricacies of these dreams. They're they're just like this conversation. And although, like, for instance, I don't remember every single detail, I remember what it was about. I mean, I don't remember every single detail. Like, I wouldn't remember every detail of this conversation, but I would remember what I gained, what I received, what expanded, what the message was, and that type of thing. So that makes sense that if we're expanding, that our recall is going to be greater.
It's clearer. It's clearer because the brain is altering. And so if you think of the brain as housing a program, and we've run a specific program, and believed that program was it. And so this is like we lose part of the program. We lose part of the program. And an aspect of our higher consciousness, which is on a different program, comes in. So we're always dissolving something, and then something else comes in. So it's like a newer program, bit by bit, supersedes the old one. That's an easy way to describe it. So the dreams, they used to be confusing when we were asleep and in 3D, and over a period of time, they become clearer and clearer and clearer. I always get woken up with learning dreams so that I can record it, because there's so much intricate detail in my learning dreams, that by the morning, if I go back to sleep, I will have forgotten part of it. So I always keep the phone handy and record it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think too, I mean, I just want to mention too that it would seem to me that the inflation deflation, you know, we're made up of, multiple or even infinite frequencies, and there may be parts of us that needs to inflate and parts of us that needs to deflate. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like even like with what I've been observing with Morgan and with other people talking about these ego deaths, and I've of course had my share of them, but no, I haven't had them recently. It's been a different kind of thing for me, but it's almost like I'm on the other end of the spectrum and I'm able to see it very clearly what's happening. Like last night, I read the whole thing before anything happened. I saw everything that was going to occur, basically, or that needed to occur, or was going to occur. I don't know how to put it, but I also know there's parts of me that I can't see, like you said, that are blind
Mm.
spots that I need to inflate, and I think that's what I got last night. Even though I spend, my work involves talking, it's still the message was so clear to take it all the way, and in that whole part about um, leaving behind the small human once and for all. Maybe that's the death that people are talking about. And but it was so intense and so it almost like an adamant mantra. you there is no choice now. It's all the
Mm.
way now. You got to go all the way, and not to tolerate the small Todd in any department and anyone else. Not I mean that in a bad way, just meaning like you said a minute ago. Sometimes you're not going to say anything, which I think is a great idea because you don't want to trigger someone. But then the other side of it is, you know, sometimes you got to say something, and it can only really make that decision in the moment. And then there's other times that when we see these what we might term as an egoic outburst or egoic characteristics in our field, it's really not. Is it them or is it me? And that to me is has become a very important part of my process. And maybe because I'm with this energy practitioner as my partner, it's become easier and easier for me to
Yeah.
to bring these polarities together, and the clearing's almost instantaneous.
Yeah. In terms of is it them or is it me, there's a really easy, clear way for people to know that for themselves is if we have a reaction to something somebody says or does,
Yeah.
then we have something within us that is a belief program
Yeah.
that we should be looking at if we want to do this, go up. Um, if there's no reaction within us to what that person is saying, obviously we're hearing it,
Mm,
but if there's no reaction in our emotions to it, then it's not ours, and we can just hold space.
yeah.
But the essential thing for clearing anything or even letting people go out of your reality is to do it with love.
Yeah.
It has to be. It's a very clear message. It has to come from love because you've looked at it through the heart. You haven't reacted through the ego.
Yeah.
If we let people go through the ego, um, all that's going to happen is our higher self is going to present another situation, person, or event
Oh yeah.
so that we see the lesson for ourselves because they're in our dream to help us see through the blindness and raise frequency. And the only way to raise frequency isn't through the lower energetics that are anger, upset, less than, lacking. They're low frequencies. The only way is through the higher frequencies, which is love. So um,
Absolutely.
there's a point. Everybody goes through the death at their own pace. So there's a dissension, and then it's a death of the old self, and it's not a rebirth. It's the highest self born in that human body,
Yeah.
in this human body.
Yeah.
And once that birth takes place, it's really fast in terms of what happens next.
Yeah.
So there's all this clearing that we've done for what feels like eons of time, and for many it's decades. But there comes this point that isn't known, I don't think. And this is just my perception, by the way. I'm not asking anyone to take it on, but it's just the experience of it myself. But there comes a point after clearing, when there's an activation within the body, and it is actually at that point that you've cleared the emotional body. And what that means is, it doesn't mean that you don't have emotions or you don't react, but what it means is you don't react from those really low energetics, those energetic frequencies that are low. They've just gone through this activation. They don't exist within you. So you don't even experience yourself reacting that way. It can't actually happen to you. And so you can hold more space for people who are going through whatever or are projecting. You actually end up being in more of a peaceful state with them, because you can't go to those lower frequency emotions. They're just, it's a brain change in terms of the higher self, again, is here, it's activated, and that lower self, the small self, drops away, dissolves some of its programming.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because, you know, there's a difference between emotions and feeling, you know, to me. So, and maybe, I guess I'm probably saying the same thing you just said. But for me, like even like last night, some of the stuff I went through, the human aspect, and I guess it was dying, you know, the feeling was there, but I didn't go into the lower level emotions like you're talking about. I don't even think they were available, to be honest with you, but I felt, you know, and that was a big part of, I guess, the transformational aspect of it, because from there it kicked into a couple of really powerful lucid dreams, and then one lucid dream, and then into the bathroom incident, which must have been activating. And then, of course, another lucid dream after that, which I actually slept like 5 hours. I got up at 11:30. I had a show at 12, and I'm like, holy shit, you know. And I was a little bit, you know, I was a little bit off, and I went into kind of a human pattern for a second. I said, and I told Morgan, I said, damn it, I can't believe this happened. But then it went away pretty quick, you know. It went away pretty quick. So you know,
we do dissolve those incidences much quicker the more we go on. They just, you know, when you think that, you know, 3D, people can hold on to grudges or anger for years or perhaps the whole life, and then you fast forward to right now, and people will perhaps flare up inside or get ultra stressed and ultra anxious, but they're able to transmute that really quickly now.
That's
and
true.
it's the energies that are here for everybody. It's allowing that to happen. But it is a case that parts of the brain, the programming that we're used to, close down, and parts of the brain open up. So just as we're not able to go to those really low frequency emotions, at the same time, in a parallel, we're becoming far more sensitive to the higher energetics that when we were asleep, we could hardly feel, or it didn't even know they were there. So there's this happening all the time. There's always a beauty at the same time as you know, going through things. It's just that we know, because we're in this field of time, we get to experience it a little bit more slowly, but it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah. And one of the other things I noticed too, Carrie Chu just mentioned the higher heart. She said that she's been feeling her emotions more in the higher heart, and there's been for me over the last 2 weeks, or at least the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of emphasis on the higher heart, and there's in an expansive way, and in a functional healing way, but there's also been a lot of emphasis on the root, you know, the base chakra, from a clearing standpoint. And I feel like what's happened very recently has been, you know, if the human, let's say the small human aspects or the distorted human aspects or the illusionary human aspects, um, the last part of it to go would seem to be in our sacred sexual power and our sacred chakras, our lower chakras. I had a situation happen at a friend's house about a week ago, and I started channeling, which I don't normally do, and so it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to cut to the chase. The bottom line was what came through was that the lower chakras were now cleared, and the central point being in the higher heart, solar, and throat,
Mm.
where there's a duality, not a duality, but there's both physical and non-physical aspects. Like the voice is a non-physical aspect. Uh, that they were now congruent. The higher chakras and the lower chakras were now congruent, and I watched the lower chakra channel kind of cone out like the crown does, you know, when the energy goes up and it
Mm.
shoots out like that. And I watched it match and become congruent with the other end of the chakras in the body. So I don't know. For me, there seemed to be some kind of relation between the higher heart coming on board in a greater manner and
Yeah.
the root chakra being cleared, you know, in an inverse
Yeah.
relationship. Yeah.
I mean, my understanding through the years about the heart is it can get quite confusing for people, but if they sit with it and just come to their own understanding of what the high heart actually is, because it is actually an energetic portal.
Mm.
So the heart doesn't experience, let's call them negative emotions. The heart experiences one emotion, which is the highest energy a human being can ever experience whilst in this physical body, which is love. But they experience it at incremental frequency, amounts of it. So we've got, you know, love in 3D, then love in 4D, 5D. It gets stronger and stronger, more powerful, because that is our energy that we are embodying. It's source energy.
Yeah.
In terms of in terms of what's happening with the high heart, definitely over the last few weeks, but to be honest, it happens all through the ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Is that there's an energetic expansion that takes place, and when we get incoming waves that are super strong, we can feel almost like an anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and a physical sensation in the high heart, as if it's kind of pushing out. It's almost like it's getting bigger. That's how it feels. Now, you could sort of link the anxiety to the high heart, but that's not the truth. It's all it is energy, and how you define that energy is up to you.
Yeah.
The definitions come from the mind.
Yeah.
So we could misperceive the energies in the heart as being emotional. In truth, they're not. It's
Mm-hmm.
one energy that comes through the heart, and that's love. Everything else is a perception, a definition of energy, and that comes from the mind. So we can have emotions playing out. I remember when I didn't associate physical anxiety with incoming waves. And I was thinking, wow, my body feels so full of physical anxiety. And it was only when I watched the incoming waves that I realized it goes into a huge anxiety physically when there's going to be a massive, massive incoming wave. So not the
Yeah.
typical ones,
Yeah.
but a massive one. It's almost like the body knows before it happens. And we can then go down the rabbit hole of thinking, well, why am I anxious? Well, I'm anxious because this has just happened in my life, and this and this. And it's just energy.
Yeah.
It's just your energetic body reacting. And it's how you choose to define that is up to the individual choice. Because after clearing the emotional body, what then will take place and I'm only just in this stage, so I can't tell you too much about it because I'm experiencing it, and I'll know when I experience it. Do you know what I mean? Time plays on, and then I get to understand it more. But what can only happen after the emotional body is cleared is this beautiful, it's staggering me, Todd, what takes place next. And that is the dissolving within here, within this programmed mind. It dissolves, it goes away, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that is the belief in suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
like
I'm experiencing this for the last week. I'm watching it, and every single thing we react to from a low frequency is based on a belief system of the mind, of this original program in the mind. We can know time and time again on our ascension that suffering is only experienced in the illusion, in the dream. And we can know that from a brain perspective. I mean, I've believed that for years, that we only suffer inside the dream, because when I go back into my higher self, I'm not suffering one bit. I'm in bliss and harmony and peace as soon as I go into higher self mode. So suffering, we can learn with the linear mind that suffering only exists within the illusion and the dream. But there comes an activation after the body has cleared its emotional. There is an activation where that part in the brain that believes in suffering goes. It goes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing then to suffer. And it's not that you're choosing, oh, I don't believe in suffering. Oh, I do believe in suffering. It's not that that happens. It's that suffering doesn't exist in your higher self. So the higher self that we've been bringing in and bringing in and bringing in never suffers. So if you imagine you're being born again, which is the higher self born into the body, that higher self does not suffer. And that is what's getting switched on, the non-suffering. And that is going to be massive for humanity. Massive. Yeah. It's huge. It's probably the biggest part so far of this ascension, is when one by one, people stop suffering.
Yeah, it's been mentioned in the last couple of days on these shows, and one of them, I can't remember the first one, but the other one was Franco Di Nicola yesterday. And
Oh, was he on? Oh, I
yeah,
missed
he was
that.
on. It was really good. It was really good.
Oh,
very
wow.
good. But in some way or another, whatever the words was, I don't remember exactly, but basically what we were talking about was, I think I might have even asked him. It's almost like memories are being erased, like memories of with the program, and the program, let's say, built up files of memory. When that program gets wiped out, as the pain and suffering program gets wiped out, the memories are leaving as well. And then the other thing too, I wanted to add, that activation, that you're talking about. I think there's got to be. I think in the physical, or I don't know if it's the physical, in the sensational part of it, the senses. Even when the energy comes in, and there can be a little bit of a hit taken by the body or whatever it may be, and how we've all felt that over the last at least this month, especially the last 2 weeks. There no matter what's happening, there's always this higher level of love, like, and I'm lucky because I'm with somebody and we spend time and we're able to talk about these things, but we don't have to talk about it. You can feel it. Even like when I woke up this morning, and at late 11:30, and then I jump into this show with this incredible lady Z, 25-year-old, beautiful, just making it happen, doing it, living it. And I start getting downloaded in it, and really essentially it was just this more powerful, palpable love. I could feel it, I could see it in her, I could feel it in me. I could feel it in more, you know,
Yes.
and yet
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
just more, you know, on the linear moments after this whole period of sequential events that happen and this and that, but it
Yeah.
just like snap, snap, snap. It just happened,
Yeah.
and you know, it's I don't understand it, but I can feel it.
Well, it it's it's literally because the more we go on with the ascension, what we're essentially all doing is embodying energy. And so there's this sort of distorted association that, you know, love is fluffy, light, and love and light, and fluffy, mamby pamby, soft, squidgy, silly stuff. Okay, that's 3D. When people start to see love as the highest energetic frequency of hertz that a human being can embody, but that at one level they've only embodied this much love. As they raise through their own ascension and path, they embody this much love, this much love, this much love. This is the difference. And what are you embodying? That's the question. Yes, it's energy. It's source energy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, people are really going to understand that it's an energetic that they're embodying. And we call it love because it feels, it is love. It's the closest word we can use to describe it. But it's capable of so much. It's such a high frequency. And all we're going to do is keep empowering more and more higher and higher frequencies, more degrees of love.
Yeah, and this is and you know what you're describing to me is like a force,
It
right?
is. Yeah,
Yeah, because it has so
it
many
is.
it has so many qualities. You know, it can be obviously the quality of I might walk in and look at my partner and just feel this expansion of
Mm-hmm.
love, but it's also magical and alchemical.
Yeah.
It actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's also that force
Yeah.
that's creating this path before us. That's, you know,
Mm.
having these synchronicities come into our experience,
Yeah.
enhancement of abundance in all aspects of abundance. I mean, this is a force. And so if I look at some of the things that we saw as opposition or antagonistic, you know, such as whatever, fear-based programming, cabal, illuminate, all that stuff, that's like a power. That's like a
Mm.
power. This is a force.
It
This
is a
this
force.
it's like trying to, you know, fight nature. You know, nature is a force, and
Mm.
you can't you can't mess with the force. And that
Yeah,
and really, you know,
that's
essentially,
it.
nature is what you're describing. It's this natural,
Yeah.
and we call it
A-
love.
And think of the times when we have felt upset, hurt, angry, alone. What is lacking in that emotion? It's a degree, okay? But what's lacking in that emotion of anger, pain, sadness, tears, sorrow, what's lacking is love.
Yeah.
That's all that's lacking. So emotions show you to what degree are you at one with creator, or however you want to call source, God, doesn't matter what you call it, it's all the same. But in that moment, you're further away in your energetic frequency to the energy that you can be, that is creator. And when you look at people's lives, particularly unawakened, they're always searching, searching, searching for something.
Yeah.
So they go buying, 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 buying this and that, because they're searching for something that's going to make them happy. They know innately something's missing. And
Yeah.
what's missing is their connection
Yeah.
to source. Why? Because they're a facet of source. And so any of those raw emotions that we don't like experiencing, all they're showing us is that in that moment we're not aligned to the energy that we actually truly are. And that's our gauge. It's great because we can see that and quickly come back. Now we can just quickly go, oh yeah, oh my God, breathe, go into the heart, which is always expanding, and be in an instant feeling at peace, at bliss. And it literally is instantaneous now. That's what's here. I'm not saying everybody feels it instantly, but some do. And if some do, then the potential is there for every single other person because we're doing it. It's not just talk, we're actually doing it physically with our bodies. And this love, this thing we call love, this energy, it's the healer for the world.
Yeah.
It is. And it's not as in peace and power and you know, flowery love. No, it's the force within me. When I'm in love, I open quietly, and I don't know I'm going to do it until it happens. I don't know in advance. I open portals, but it's only when I'm in my heart space, in this purity of love.
Yeah.
When I'm in that purity of love, I can connect eye to eye with another being, and my energy connects to their soul.
That's right. And
it just gives a lift up to them on their path, and then suddenly everything starts to change after that in their lives.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful energy any of us can be while in the form.
It can be transmitted through your fingers and
your
hands.
Yes.
You know, it can be transmitted. You know, we're half a world apart. I mean, I know, I get what you're saying, and this has really been coming in more and more. You know, in this incredible month. You know, I saw a meme Michael Muir put out the other day. He said, "This has been a long 5 months, and it's only the 20th of January." Well, there's a lot of truth to that, but there's also, for everything that we have, you know, given up, or the identity loss, or the little deaths, or whatever, the discomfort, there has been, which has been building through this past year and a half or 2 years since I've known you. Uh, the reciprocation, the payoff is immediate. It's huge.
Yes.
It's getting bigger. Barb Bradley came in a while ago and made a comment, and I tried to find it, but I can't find it. She
Hello,
said that,
Bob.
yeah, she said that she's been feeling over the last few days a lot of vibration in her root chakra and into, you know, and I can totally relate to that. My root, my sacral, the clarity, the understanding of what's happening. And it's really kind of weird because on one hand, there's a letting go of all this distortion, but on the other hand, there's this huge activating energy, and I can feel it and actually see it in my chakra channels. I don't know what's coming. I don't know how it works, you know, but I can tell you that, you know, Barb, I mean, I don't think I'm the only other one feeling this. Do you have any information on that?
Well, I don't have too much information on the root chakra at all, because it's just that information I haven't ever received. But I can tell you that right now, as I'm sat here, I can feel energy pushing through my root chakra into Gaia. So it's coming through and it's going down. It's boring a hole in the caravan, and it's very, very strong. It's very strong right now.
That's what I was talking about earlier, about that cone.
Yeah, the cone.
You know, and this happened, you know, a week ago or so. Morgan went when we arrived into a friend's house, and she was pulling stuff in, ego deaths and this and that, and so she was in the RV, and I ended up going in there because normally we just handle stuff on our own in that regards. I know when to leave her alone. She knows when to leave me alone. But I heard her, so I went in out of concern, and then I was told, you need to put your hands on her and really to run them up the chakras. But I watched that happen with her. I watched and that's exactly what happened. Was instead of the force or the flow of the chakras, you know, coming up as we like, okay, bring it up, bring it up. This was actually exploding down. And then I felt the same thing a couple days later. And again, both of these situations are just energetic. You know, their you know, experience of actually seeing it in some way or another. You know, and so, but I saw that. I really saw when I was working on her, and then later with myself, I really saw and I'd never seen this before, the enjoining, the congruent coming together of the cosmos and the earth, and it was through the human chakra channel, you know,
Mm.
and it
Yeah.
was very powerful.
Yeah. Um, I think it's a good point to mention to people that they don't have to learn this stuff with the mind. You know, they don't have to learn all about the chakras, because where we are right now on this timeline, I'm not talking about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 10, where we are now, everything you need to focus on, you will know within you. It will be intuitive. So you knew to go and lay your hands on Morgan. Okay, you didn't need to read that or learn it through the mind. So in other words, people not to, you know, not to worry about whether they know about this subject or this subject. You're going to know intuitively, because your higher self is speaking to you, and only you. So you're going to know what to do intuitively. And the other thing to mention is, whilst I don't know about the chakras, I know about the light body. And I feel the energy within my body, and I work with the energy in the sense that I'm going to say the word push, but it's the wrong word. I can push the energy out of my body, feel it coming through my skin, and then I can feel it in a sphere. There's a sphere around me, and then I can still feel it about 100 meters away. But the thing to remember is that we've all got this toroidal field, and the center of that toroidal field is the heart center. So a lot of the energy we're feeling, we can attribute to the chakras, but look where the chakras are. They're right in the center, that midpoint of the toroidal field. And it's that field that is our awareness is becoming more and more aware of. There's reasons for that, but basically the light body is, we're becoming, as human beings, as physical human beings, more and more and more sensitive to light. So there is obviously a long time in history where human beings, you can't feel light, you can't touch light. Well, no, that's changing.
That's right.
Because I can feel physically my light body, and the last week I'm knowing to engage with the energy immediately. It's like a sphere around me, and I'm thinking, well, I've been doing this for years, why am I suddenly feeling it in a different way? It's a completely different way. I'm feeling my own energy sphere around me, and we're going to be learning how to use it. That's why. So instead of just feeling it or seeing it, because I see it with my physical eyes at will, no, that was just step by step by step. There's a whole reason for it. All of this energy that everybody's experiencing, it's just getting greater and greater, so that you feel it more and more and more. And so the unseen becomes seen. The what was not heard becomes heard. Telepathy, the last few weeks has gone crazy. I hear, if I go into silence, I can hear live conversations. And it's crazy because it's like half a conversation. So I haven't got a clue what it means. And they use words that I've got to look up in a dictionary. But if we just drop into silence, the energies that we're all receiving are allowing for the telepathy to now rocket, and we can practice that.
That's a lot.
That's huge. I mean, it's this, what was subtle is becoming loud. That's effectively the change. That's our consciousness changing.
Exactly. And okay, so like when we got here, and it wasn't just here, I keep hearing voices. Do you hear those voices? And I've heard these but now they're becoming louder and louder. Another example that lines up with what you're talking, like even last night, we were sitting out on this in the carport, and I could see I could see the energy, which is not abnormal, but it was white. It was all white, and I knew, and she was sitting on the ground across from me, and I knew that was her energy. It was actually her, her
Mm.
energy in her field.
Yeah.
And then like last night, I don't know why I went and closed my eyes, and then she said, "Are your eyes open?" Then I opened them, and you could see the energy everywhere. But I immediately knew, even like with the dragon that came in, this divine mother came in, and then came over and started working on me. I knew, and I asked the question. I thought, well, this is because I'm very curious. I was like, okay, well, I know the dragon is me. I am the dragon now. I mean, it was very obvious. And the divine mother was working on me, like nurturing me over here on the side. But at some point, I realized too that was me. That was part of my field, just taking on a
Mm.
certain apparition,
Mm.
looking like something that I could relate to or whatever the case is. But I guess what I'm getting at is I realize now with these experiences that we've had, this is our energy. This is
Mm.
us, I mean,
Mm.
this is the innerverse or whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
And then I haven't taught you, but we've had some experiences where our light, as we do our thing at night, where
Mm.
our light bodies, we're laying there and the light body comes out. Like the first time it
Mm.
happened, hers came out, and I've seen that before, but then it came over and got on top of me. And then, all the fun started. But this is a light body. We were just holding hands. The next night I
Mm.
started it. I dropped it a couple of times because I couldn't sustain it. But and again, the telepathy.
Mm.
So the next day,
Mm.
because we didn't really talk about it, and we don't do it, but the next day it was, hey, you came over out of your light body and came over to me last night. I'm like, yeah, and she described it to a T. Last night,
Wow.
last night is another example. Last night, I knew, I pretty much knew what was going to happen. I did know. So when we lay down to watch a movie, because we sometimes will process things that way when it's just like
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it,
Yeah.
and I'm laying down and I'm knowing, you know what, this isn't going to last very long, but I don't want to like carry that thought. So I started trying to watch the movie, and then nothing was said. I looked over at her, I could tell, and I just said, you know what, this isn't it. And and then I said, do you have any idea what we need to do? And she said, yes, we need to do this, this, and this. I said, that's telepathy, because I already knew. So
Yeah.
this is what we're getting
Yeah.
into, um,
Yes.
and that's exciting. It really is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Um.
Hey, you wrote in. I remember this very specifically because in 2018 we really started running hard with this program, Soul Speaks 5D, and you came on quite a bit at the end of 2018. But I remember talking to you, and I remember you putting up a post, and it was in December, early December of 2018. And it had to do with the numbers 21, 22, 22, 22, different, with using those numbers. Now we're in
Mm.
2020, which is a 22.
Yeah.
We're about to go into February, you
I know.
know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you give us a refresher on what is 2222? What is 22 and all 20
Do you know?
2020?
In a sense, if I spoke about what I know, it's just my perception.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's everybody's power is to put the dots together themselves. Because if somebody says what their perception is, it can kind of disempower you and your own experience.
Sure.
What I will say about 22 has been with me since tiny child. I used to pray with that number. I used to send 22 kisses to every member of my family before I went to sleep, and to God and to the world. And I didn't know why that was my favorite number, but all sorts happened when I was 22, like shed
Hmm.
loads
Yeah.
with the number 22. When I awoke, um, I received a vision relating to the number 22, and there is actually a council. And this is why I don't like to get into it too much, because we can get too sidetracked with galactic.
Yeah.
But there's a council that oversees the universes. So that's my connection to the number 22. But each will have their own connection to the number 22. When last year it was, I've always, since I awoke, for some reason, I just got this niggling thing of Da Vinci. And I love to draw and paint anyway. So I've got some of his books. And I learned that he wrote in a mirrored, he wrote back to front, didn't he, as a mirror. Okay. So last year, about 11 o'clock at night, for some reason, I got out my little pad, because the number 22 is just part of me. And I don't know how on earth it happened, but it did. I started writing back to front as the mirror. And as soon as I did that, I started step by step. So I did about 4 pages of drawings. You know the way things flow when you've got something going on, and then you realize, and then you draw something else, then you realize. I ended up drawing the point of creation and the expansion out in numbers. But I could only do it if I flipped the numbers into mirrored form.
Wow.
If I'd have kept them as 2 that way and 2 that way, I'd have never got to the point of creation in numerical form. And it expands out from 1 to 2, but it doesn't go the way the human brain would assume. It flips and it mirrors itself as its image. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a mirror image of itself, and it flips this way and this way. And so I ended up, just through flipping the number 22, working out the point in the universe that I come from.
Wow.
I know it's a little bit geeky, but
No, it's not geeky. No, and
it's just the way it is.
Yeah, but I mean, all of this stuff is, for all intents and purposes, it's a translation.
Yeah.
When you pull something in, that's like the value of your, having the pad when you're having lucid dreams. I mean, the quicker we can, obviously, the best way to do it is just to spit it out as we're getting it, But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but there's always, with the core of the intention of the heart to share, there's always code in there. It's like that light you talked about, it's there. That information is there. I've watched this happen for 8 years, and I've seen people like, like I'll do a show, or, and it just explodes. And I get through the show like, what do we even talk about?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's that non-physical coding and light.
It's
And,
energy.
yeah,
It's energy.
data.
And we're all of us exchanging energy every single moment. And in fact, every single thing in creation is giving out energy in every single moment.
Yeah.
We can actually, we're at the stage now, and I sort of practiced this for a few years now, but it's been limited, Todd, because as I grow, so it expands. As I grow, so it expands. So there's always been a bit of a limitation going on. But we can connect to anything. We literally can. We can connect to a rock. We can connect to a leaf. We are anyway. It's just that we haven't understood or been able to see that we are. We're just all energy at different frequencies. That's the bottom line. Yeah. And so how we, as we embody higher and higher frequencies, we can just be with people without speaking. Absolutely. And the energy is enough. The energy is actually a pure form than speaking, and a pure form than listening to someone speak.
Yeah.
If we just sit as that pure energy of love, we can just exchange. And in fact, I was shown last March all about this, and I was given the word translocational waves. So every single thing has an energy signature.
Mm-hmm.
You have an energy signature. Everybody watching has a unique energy signature. A rock has an energy signature. What we're becoming is consciously aware that we can connect to those things, and we do it through the energy signatures. We do it through waveform.
Yeah.
I'm already doing this, like practicing it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But you know, the idea that we don't impact anything or anyone, it is illusion. We're doing it all the time.
Yeah, of course.
So we can impact somebody's world with love, kindness, powerful energy, or we can trigger the pants off someone.
I like. I was gonna make a joke, but I won't. No, that's true. You know, tell this story a couple of times. I know at the conference, we just did a conference, and we're doing the conference on shadow work and sacred union, sacred sexuality, right? So the night we got there, we've been traveling, and of course, just basic stuff, right? But we went to this little function. We were in a rush, and we just went like that. You know, it's just one of those things, right? So we know just give each other space, and we're both, talking to different people, and got to get up the next morning, go meet all these people, and so we were just kind of in our own space, right? And
Yeah.
finally, I walked into the hotel room after walking and walking and walking and walking, thinking, we got to do something. But to your point, we've come to like, put our hands out and sit across from each other and just look in each other's eyes, right?
Mm.
So I walked in, I said, I think we need to do something. Could we do this, or could we lay side by side and put our hands together? She said, let's do this. So we just looked at each other because we were not in alignment, and here we are doing a doing a conference on sacred union, right? And we just, and we've done it before, but we just looked each other's eyes. We didn't say a word for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And and this is just a testament, a very, very, almost to me, almost a primitive example, because this energy you're talking about is so much more expansive than two people sitting across from each other. You can actually influence and be felt, obviously miles and miles and universes away. But this is the type of information. I mean, as much as we need to expand our throat chakras and do things such as a show, there is so much power in the soul connection in silence.
Yes.
It is the healing. I mean, it is what you're talking
It
about.
is.
It takes care of everything. Yeah.
And I'm guessing from what you described that, it sounds obvious, but is that that you must have dropped into your heart, both of you.
Yeah. That's
exactly. So in other words, you came, and I'm just saying this for the benefit of other people, that's all. Absolutely. But it's just that all those thoughts were going on in the head, mind, belief system. Yeah. In just sitting with one another, not exchanging words or thoughts or belief systems, eventually that started to slow down. Mm-hmm. And you eventually dropped into your heart. Mm-hmm. And what is there? Peace, love, harmony, honoring of each other. And at the end of the day, it's all that matters.
It is.
It really is all that matters. Love.
Yeah, it is.
And that love is given between two people in an intimate relationship, but it's also given to eventually people will give that love to every single human being they come into contact with. They don't have to say anything. They can just be presence of love and not say a word. And this is the difference, because we've gone from a society, which is still there, obviously, of choosing who we love and who we don't love. Yeah. I love him, but I don't love him. In fact, I hate him. It's all this polarity. we end up being a society that loves and honors every single being,
Everything.
everything,
Everything.
because everything is one being. That's the
Of
thing.
course. And
Yeah.
this, yeah, and as far out as that might have seemed, you know, it's not so far out anymore, but, and I struggle with it
No.
still, and I know it's part of me. And I see, you know, people, renowned people who've done great work to wake people up, really, is the way I would describe it. It's just my opinion. But in the conspiracy and disclosure circles,
Mm.
and I see, and so I think it, yes, absolutely, we need to be aware. We need to talk about, you know, this is going on or that's going on. But there's a point where it becomes counterproductive, and you're
Mm.
actually feeding that illusionary monster, and you're
Absolutely.
not being
Yeah.
that love, you know. And I went to the
Yes.
I went to the store. I think it was yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. I went to this little store. It's an Amish grocery store here in Florida, and I went over there, and twice people came up to me. I was in really a good state. You know, I was just, you know,
Mm.
just being, right, running up and grab a couple of things. I walked up there, and I could actually see, for lack of a better way to describe it, my own reflection in their face. They came right up to me, and it was like their face was right here. And it probably was right here, you know, but it looked like, and I could see their whole countenance light up. And it was,
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but it was like they were looking at me and seeing something. But by virtue of that, I was seeing myself. It was really cool, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So,
It's, but I love that. That's the reality of it. Um, because you know, literally, it's the God in you seeing the
yeah,
God in them.
yeah.
But as soon as you see the God in them, what happens is that human being that seemed separate,
Mhm.
actually it alters. And then suddenly you're seeing that that is God looking back at you. And it's like, well, you were an animal a moment ago. Now you're God. I've had this. This is,
Mm,
and it's this, it's just bouncing. Um,
mhm.
but it is that we don't always have to say things. We
Mm,
can just give a smile.
yeah.
We can just be presence in the room, emitting love quietly. It's so powerful, and it's because we're embodying it more and more and more. And this isn't the limit; it's infinite.
Yeah.
So 6 months from now, Todd, let's remember we were talking about this power, this energy, this force, which it is. But 6 months later down the road, it's going to be even more expanded
Yeah.
than we're experiencing now.
You know, Franco talked about that. I'm going to put him on
Did he?
the. Yeah,
Oh my
well,
God.
but you
I,
know,
I
Franco.
must watch it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love his shows.
Well,
Yeah.
he made a reference, and you can watch it. It's a good show. And so his you know, his intel, his forecasting has been extremely accurate. I mean, I have
Mm,
to say, to me, it's the most accurate I've come across. He's such a humble, you know, um, conveyor too. But
yeah.
so one of the things that he said was, I said, so is there, you know, we talked about February a little bit, mostly talked about now, you know, what's been going on. And he had mentioned before something about May, like between now and through the end of May, you know, it's all, you know, all hands, it's all go, everything's good and great. And but then he said, but in about 6 months, something is like really, I can't talk about it right now, but it's gonna like, and it's exactly the energy of what you're saying, Doc. Like, so our experience and our
That's
understanding,
interesting.
you know, of love, of what you're talking about,
Mm,
the force of love, nature,
yeah.
whatever, is gonna just be,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it's gonna be
Yeah.
so far. And the other thing I was gonna say too, about what you were talking about, in regard to like being in the room and just being, you know, being holding your field, your highest love vibration. Going back to what you're saying about the telepathy and the fact that it can travel from here to where you're at in the same
Mm,
amount of time and be just as impactful. I've noticed that over you know, and I can't really pinpoint it, but certainly this month there's certain people in my field that I might be collaborating with or have some type of association or had a conversation, and I can actually feel their thoughts, right?
Mm,
And I can kind of feel like, you know, a pattern of, I don't want to say discordant pattern, but like, in other words, they probably would love for me to pick up the phone and call them and have like a conversation.
mm,
Are they
mm.
are they wanting something? I can see them so clearly, and I'm sure the same goes for me. But what I was getting at is I know from this telepathy not to say a word, because the best thing I can do for them, and I know this, is to say nothing, and let them work it out, because it's
Mm,
not about me. They're like, say, focused on me or focused on, you know what I
mm.
mean? And then that's a powerful thing, to
Yeah,
allow people the same, afford them the same respect, to allow them to work things out as we would want to be able to do the same and not be judged for it
yeah,
and all that.
yeah. And you raised a really good point, which is why I was sort of resistant about talking about the number 22, because the moment people start to tell people about, if I was to tell you about you, it does two things actually. It disempowers you,
Yes,
because actually it's your dream, Todd.
yes.
Your dream and your reality is your creation. It's not mine. My dream and my reality is my creation. So you have come in, and every single human being on the planet is the same. They've come in with their own storyline that opens a page at a time. It goes one page at a time. It's unique to you. I'm so
Mhm.
passionate about this, Todd, because I see people being disempowered by reading somebody else's storyline and trying
No,
to be that book. And it's
yes.
no, you've got your own book. This is what's going to empower you, your book, because your higher consciousness has tailor made and is orchestrating 24/7 your unfoldment into your power. It's not out there. It's in here, And so I've kind of gone off track, but
No. And Morgan says the
it
same thing. She's big
and
on.
also the second thing to say is, if I were to tell you about yourself, okay, one, it would disempower you. You would suddenly feel there and see me, or uncomfortably see me here. Now let's look at me. If I am disempowering you by telling you about yourself, where am I coming from? Do
Yeah,
you know where I'm coming from? I'm coming from my own ego.
that's
And
right.
in the moment that I'm telling you your story, I am smack bang immersed in my own dream.
Yeah,
I'm not out here observing my own reality. I'm immersed in the dream. So I'm in the illusion.
yeah.
There's so much that,
I always
you
repeat
know,
this. I always repeat this phrase that Morgan told me. It was a little bit out of context, but she said, "If you know something, well, you got to say it." So I stayed with that, because a lot of stuff she'll say to me, sink in, sink in, sink in, and I started to
yeah,
utilize it. I started to utilize it, because where I went was what you're talking about. I went to a point and I thought, wait a minute. First of
yeah,
all, I have to trust myself. This is my telepathy. This is my dream and my experience, and I'm seeing this in that person, let's
mm,
just say. Okay. So I thought to myself, okay, then you don't need to say anything. Because,
mm,
first of all, if I'm right, then there's the phrase. If you know it, well, you got to say it, because as soon as I say it, then I'm going to be doing what you just said. And then the other thing that popped in my head was, well, what if you're wrong? Then that's really a good reason to keep your mouth shut. So, when in doubt,
yeah.
say,
And it is they're all stages every single one of us go through. So, there's a point in everyone's ascension when they do like to say, um, it's just part of the
yeah,
process. But there comes a point where you know that the only thing that's real is it's your dream,
yeah,
it's your illusion, and you're creating it. So I the only reason I speak is to try and help people see themselves, see their own empowerment, see their own storyline, because my storyline isn't theirs. Nobody's is theirs. Theirs is their empowerment. But actually, what I'd far rather do is not speak, not write.
Yeah.
I'd far rather just get on with it and do it, because everything in my storyline is coming true. It has done since I woke.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just walk my walk and let my actions speak.
Your energy.
My energy, yeah.
Your energy.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer that people that pull stuff down, and everybody has their roles, you know. I mean, everybody has that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that, like, even people just pull something down and they state it to a friend, or they write it down, or they make a song or whatever. Just like you said, that's, you just created an energetic body, you know. You just created something, and it's felt, whether we
Yeah.
talk about it and you tell a million people or not. I mean, it's there,
Yeah.
you know.
And the whole of creation, in my perception, the way I've learned it, is that every love is expressed out. It's not to be held in. Love isn't designed as an energy to be held in and just kept to itself. You know, original creation expanded out, and we're microcosms of that. So it is about expressing out, but there's the expression of love out, and then there's the expression of ego out. You
Yeah,
see the difference?
absolutely.
It's a journey.
And
It's
that's
a
why,
journey.
yes, it is. And
Mm.
everybody's been there at some point in time and could
Yeah.
be there again. But
Yeah.
it's a great point, especially now that we've gone in 2020, things have kind of changed. But yeah, you know, it's people to tell me what I'm feeling, people to tell me what's, you know, that's why I even struggle with, and I've come across some really good healers on this show. And I've had some people do stuff a couple, 3, 4 times on the show, you know. Uh, I struggle with that, but I do think
Mm.
there's a couple of people that I know can look right in me and see whatever imbalance there is, or a blockage, or whatever.
Mm.
But for the most part, uh, you know, I would rather scan my own body, and I do that. You know, I do
Mhm.
that pretty much every day, just to see what's happening and get a feel for it. But yeah, this is very important, because there has been a shift in this transition, and it's kind of tricky, because there's been a lot of people that have served so well in their capacity, but I've also seen a lot of transformation in people who were kind of set in stone in their modality, or their process, or their
Mm.
connection, their unique connection to the
Yeah.
universe, and they're starting to
Yeah.
open up their field more, uh,
Yeah.
which is evidenced in their, you know, in their changing processes and modalities, or even the things that they put out, and that's nice to see.
It is, and also it's you know, the moment we close down our mind and we think we've got something and we've defined it, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do that because that's the truth. The moment we all do that, we are limiting ourselves in that moment to more expansion, because whatever we think, there's always going to be an infinitely higher truth and higher truth and higher truth. So it is about, yeah, learning from within yourself, taking what resonates from the dream, but not letting it disempower you, not, you know, but it's about keeping an open mind to your own infinite possibility. Otherwise, you're just restricting yourself.
Yeah.
So as we expand energetically, so our energetic abilities expand. We've come from a dimension where people rely on the outside for a service, where I can't fix that washing machine, therefore I will pay somebody to fix my washing machine.
Yeah.
4D is about kind of breaking through that and thinking, oh, actually, I can fix myself. And it's a whole big journey into believing that as well, because we've been so used to seeking help outside of ourselves. 5D and above, it's so different. And I think this year, Todd, we'll see an awful lot of long-awaited changes within the spiritual community, and I'm grateful that we're at this stage now, because it's hard work. It is hard work relying just on yourself. It really is, and because that's been my path, blooming hard work, but it's empowering.
Yeah, it is.
It's the fastest route, even though it's hard. It's really hard, don't get me wrong, but it's the fastest, most empowering route. And then what happens is, as we all each expand as empowered beings, this person gives, this person gives, this person gives, this person gives, and all of a sudden we've got a whole community that is just giving, not because they lack, not because they want from the outside, not because they need that from that person. They give because they just want to.
Yeah, that's right.
And everybody does the same, and suddenly everybody's provided for.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. That's a conversation we had with this 25-year-old beautiful sister on the previous show today.
Gosh, really?
And yeah, and I mean, she's 25 years old. She's been awake since she was 19. She's working in the ethers and sitting before councils, and she's so humble. And she says, my ancestors provided me this acreage in New Mexico. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking? And now she's got a mobile home moving out there, and she's doing this sound healing that's very unique. But this is an active, it's an active force. And like you said, it's just, and the thing we were talking about, I didn't mean to go off track, was she was talking about, she called it monergy, I think is what she called it. And she talked about what you're talking about, and paying it forward, and doing it because you see something or someone getting it done. And I was just telling her, yeah, that's been my experience at Soulogy. And every time we pay it forward, it comes right back. There's no fear of oh, I got to do this and we got to pay for it. It really is something amazing about the physicality of all this energetic work becoming a reality, because it carries a very powerful expanded force of that energy that we're talking about.
It does. It's huge. It's huge, and it is actually the way, because I was shown, Gaia showed me 2018 here on the farm, and she showed me the original third dimensional blueprint, and then the fifth dimensional. And the fifth dimensional is about giving from love, giving from the heart, not because, oh, if I give this person this, I might get this back. Right. So there's no premeditated thought about giving in order to receive back. It's about giving from the heart, because whenever we give from the heart, it carries this massive, massive energetic that is healing. It helps so many people. And then imagine others, and more and more and more, giving that same way. And so everybody's needs get taken care of, because everybody's unique and everybody has their own different gifts. It just works.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and it's powerful.
You're powerful. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
These numbers are ridiculous.
What numbers?
2222, Franco. You're like, Franco, I'm not going to tell you about that. I can't tell you about that. That's cool. I'm just messing with you. But I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
People have asked me, they said, what does 22 mean? And I said, well, I don't want to disempower you, because when you have your storyline that opens up this little envelope. Imagine, I'm just messing, but it opens up this little envelope and it tells you exactly what 22 means to you and your path and your reality.
Exactly.
You're just like, wow, I didn't know it was there all along, and it was staring at me in the face, and I didn't know. And who would want to stop that from happening by spilling the beans, so to speak?
That's exactly what Morgan said.
Yeah.
She says,
yeah.
why would you want to steal that? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You know, I mean,
it's huge.
You achieve something, or you discover something on your own, like
yes.
you said earlier.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, right on.
Okay.
I can't wait to put my arms around you. I know that, and I feel
I
like
know.
I feel like it's going to be this year. I really do.
You know, there's a lot of people in America that I know, and I wish there was a way of getting everybody together.
Well,
some sort of
there is a way. There is a way.
Open air party.
Yes, there is a way.
Because when I come to America, and I will come, I can't go everywhere. I mean, no. You know, I haven't got that financial means, so it would be great to make the trip across the pond.
Yeah.
And those that resonate, we can all just meet up if it fits into your reality and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying to Morgan, or bringing up. I said, you know, maybe what we ought to do is lay out, you know, we're going to go here, then we're going to go there, rather than, you know, people say, come here, come here, come here. And it's just too much, man. It's too much.
Yeah.
So I agree. I really think, though, that we are all going to come to a place, you know, when we first got over here to the mainland, we got to the mainland in August, other people started going on the move, and Morgan kept saying, where are we all going? And I was
yeah.
But it
Helen
makes sense.
Quayle, you know Helen Quayle. I knew her when she lived over here in Scotland, and now she's at Mount Shasta, and she's a beautiful, genuine sister. I've known her for years, and she asked me if I'd like join up with her for the Lionsgate this year and do something at Mount Shasta. And originally it felt right, but because of what happened in December to me, I said, whoa, I haven't a clue now what's going to happen tomorrow. I can't plan. Right. And but I feel there's going to be, I'll only go where I get called from within.
That's right.
I won't go because of the mind. Right. It has to be a calling, and then it all unfolds when I get there. So I know America's calling, and I don't know where, but I will get shown. Yeah. And it would be so lovely to see as many as possible, really, just absolutely. To give them a hug and another hug. Yeah. Another hug.
Yeah, right. You know, I got to tell you this one last thing too. Last night after I had the bathroom incident and I went and lay down, dragging Divine Mother and all that, there was one point where, and I just remembered this when you said that, there was one point where the image, like a picture, I mean, like just like as clear as day, of Mount Shasta came in. And I sat with it and I was looking at it. I'm like, damn, I mean, that's like literally like a poster. And I was looking at it and I could feel a message coming through, and it had to do with the gathering. And it looked like it was pretty sunny out. I didn't see a lot of snow because I don't want to go in it. But so we'll just keep following the breadcrumb, cookie crumb trail.
Yeah.
And
believe in yourself, believe in your path.
It's always good to talk to you. I mean, we do most of our talking on this show, but
I know.
So everybody knows, we're very, very close, Morgan and I, with you. And have had some incredible etheric dimensional experiences, and you're just I don't know. I think this is okay. I mean, we're having a conversation. We just have to have 200 plus brothers and sisters watching or observing it with us, and I appreciate you and I love you. And you take care.
Well, thank you very, very much, Todd. And also, I just want to say hello and send my love out to everybody that's watching. Just all you know, look after yourselves, believe in your own storyline, because it's perfect for you, tailor-made, and keep going.
Yeah, keep going. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you. Bye-bye.